Ingeniously obsessed with plastic surgery, Antonio Banderas conducts horrifying experiments on his captive. This is a retelling of the film The Skin I Live In. Keep sharp objects away as we begin. Dr. Robert Ledgard is a world-renowned surgeon working on creating synthetic skin. In his house lives Vera, a woman who is essentially his prisoner and a subject for his experiments. After growing another sample of synthetic skin and transplanting it onto Vera, Robert promises that she will no longer see any traces of burns on her body. Dr. Ledgard presents his discovery to his colleagues, explaining how the new skin is impervious to mosquitoes and malaria-carrying insects. In a private conversation with the president of the Medical Association, Robert reveals that his invention can effectively be used on humans. Upon hearing this, the president prohibits Ledgard from conducting further research. Returning home, Robert visits Vera and informs her that the experiment is completed and now she can boast the best skin in the world. Vera questions her future, as she is no longer needed by the man for scientific purposes and must figure out how to build her life now. She suggests to Robert to start living together as a real couple. The man is confused by this proposal, as he had no platonic plans for the girl. In the morning, the elderly assistant Marilia talks to Robert about Vera. She reproaches him for making the girl look so much like his deceased wife. Now that the experiment is over, it will only add to the problems. Marilia suggests either killing the girl or continuing to keep her in captivity. Robert orders to dismiss all the staff and not hire anyone else. Later, Marilia's son, Zeke, whom she hasn't seen in over 10 years, calls at the house. In Madrid, there is a carnival, and the young man is dressed in a tiger costume. His manners and behavior leave much to be desired. On the TV, there is a report about a robbery at a jewelry store. Zeke's face is captured on surveillance cameras. He asks his mother to hide him. Marilia tries to kick her son out, as Robert surely wouldn't want to tolerate him in his house after what happened years ago. Zeke's attention is drawn to a monitor showing a picture from Vera's room. The girl is calmly going about her business. The young man recognizes his deceased mother in her. Nervously, Marilia reaches for a gun and asks her son to leave the house. Zeke takes the weapon away from her and ties her up. Disturbed by the noise, Vera tries to find out what is happening through the intercom, but there is no answer. The young man starts searching the rooms to find the girl who is in the house. When Vera realizes that Zeke mistook her for someone else, she tries to play along to get him to take her out of the house. The young man attacks the prisoner, tearing her costume. He mercilessly rapes the girl, while Moral is forced to helplessly watch what is happening through the monitor. And at that moment Robert returns home. When he sees what is happening, he shoots the rapist several times and hugs the frightened Vera to him. Later, when Moral was cleaning the bloody bed, she tells the girl that Robert and Zek are brothers, but they themselves do not know about it. When the woman was young, she gave birth to Robert by Mr. Ledgard, but his infertile wife gave the boy to the society for her son. Moral tells why the convict conspired with Vera, as if he had known her for a long time. He confused the girl with Gal, Robert's wife. The convict is the one who lived away from his mother. At the age of 7, he started dealing drugs and practically grew up on the street. 12 years ago, while on the run, he asked his mother to hide him. The woman hid her son in the garage. Gal accidentally found him, and they ran away together. Their car got into an accident, the convict escaped, leaving Gal burning in the car. Robert managed to save his wife from death at the last moment, having received serious burns all over his body. Contrary to expectations, the girl went on the mend. A few months later, she sees her reflection in the mirror. Gal could not stand it and jumped out of the window right at her daughter's feet. A few years later, unable to survive the trauma, Norma Ledgard committed suicide in the same way. The women's conversation was interrupted by Robert, who claims that he got rid of the Zek's corpse. Vera takes the men to her room, making it clear that he agrees to her offer to live as an ordinary couple. 6 years ago, Robert attended a wedding celebration with his daughter Norma. Distraught, he lost sight of his daughter in the crowd and went searching for her. In the garden, Robert was left speechless when he discovered his daughter had been sexually assaulted by a young man named Vincent, who was under the influence of drugs. Some time later, Robert tracked down Vincent and abducted him. Vincent woke up in a basement, chained up. Several weeks later, the police informed Vincent's mother that his motorcycle was found severely damaged near the cliffs, and they presumed his body was swept into the sea. Meanwhile, Robert visited Norma at a psychiatric clinic. She didn't recognize her father and hid in a closet. The attending doctor insisted that Mr. Ledgard should reduce his visits, as he believed Robert had attacked her. Mr. Ledgard continued visiting the basement, showing his face to Vincent. He didn't explain why he had kidnapped him, only providing food, water, and occasional conversations without any cruelty. After his daughter's funeral, he anesthetized Vincent and moved him to an operating room. Soon, his entire team of doctors joined him. Handing over the necessary documentation to his colleagues, he suggested they begin the procedure. After waking up from anesthesia, Vincent realized he had undergone vaginoplasty. Following the surgery, Vincent was transferred to a locked room. He was in a state of shock from what had happened to him. He asked Robert why he had chosen him specifically, but Robert did not respond. And the man tells him the true reason. Vincent confesses that he was under the influence of drugs and vaguely remembers the evening when he assaulted Norma. After a series of surgeries on his body and face, Vincent completely transformed into a woman. One day, Vincent managed to obtain a key and escape from the room. However, all the doors were locked, so Vincent cut his throat to avoid becoming Robert's plaything. The man manages to save him in time. Several weeks later, Dr. Ledgard removes the surgical mask from the young man's face. Upon seeing the results of his work, Robert gives the patient a new name, Vera. This is how the rapist of Mr. Ledgard's daughter became his captive. Only after that, Robert brings Marilia back to his home. After his daughter's death, he dismisses all the servants. Currently, Vera prepares breakfast in the kitchen and brings it to Robert's bed. They reminisce about the promises they made to each other before going to sleep. Vera assures him that if he grants her freedom, she will never leave him. Marilia expresses their concern and openly state that they don't trust the girl. Robert urges the women to calm down and sends them shopping. During this time, his colleague, Fulgencio, visits him. He persuades his friend to continue operating, but Robert refuses, citing other plans for his life. Fulgencio persistently pushes his point. He shows Robert a newspaper article featuring photos of people who have disappeared, including Vincent's face. Fulgencio remembers that they performed surgery on him and tries to blackmail his colleague. He also suspects that Robert may have left an experiment on the missing young man. Their conversation is interrupted by Vera entering the room. She declares that even when she was still a man, she came to this house of her own free will and has no connection to the doctor's experiments. At night, claiming she forgot her cream in her purse, Vera goes down to the kitchen. Along with the cream, she brings a pistol she took from the drawer and without hesitation, shoots Robert. Hearing the noise, Marilia enters the bedroom but promptly receives her own bullet. Quickly gathering herself, Vera leaves the estate. She arrives at her mother's store to tell her that her missing son is safe. The store worker, Christina, believes the girl as she shares information that only Vincent could know. Together, they have to convince the young man's mother. And that's the end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.